Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into this really explosive piece on how China is dumping US bonds, and the dollar is just dropping like it's losing trust. It's a pretty volatile
Hmm.
moment in the economic landscape.
Absolutely. It's like watching a slow motion economic earthquake.
Right. And the analysts, Richard Wolff and Sean Fu, lay it all out. China's rapid sell off of US bonds is rattling the market, and even Trump seems to be,
Yeah.
in panic mode.
It does raise a lot of questions, doesn't it? I mean, why is China um, essentially offloading these bonds now?
Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to free themselves from a chain. They're unload these bonds because the dollar, which has been the global reserve, is collapsing in trust.
Right. And that collapse isn't just about numbers on a screen. It sends seismic shockwaves throughout the global economy, touching everything from trade balances to geopolitical strategies.
Exactly, it's not just a financial hiccup. When the major currency, the US dollar, starts to lose its foothold, you can expect a cascade of events affecting global confidence.
Yep. Some might even say it's a tipping point which could redefine global power dynamics, wouldn't you agree?
Totally. It's like, think of it as a chess game. If the US dollar is the king, then its fall can disrupt the board entirely, triggering new moves from players like China or even an unruly Trump.
Yeah. Speaking of Trump, it's interesting that his reaction is described as panic. That sort of illustrates how unprepared the old guard might be for these shifts.
Right. And you gotta appreciate how the commentary highlights that Trump's panic isn't just a personal reaction. It symbolizes the insecurity in traditional US economic policies.
Hmm. But I wonder if we're overinterpreting his reactions. Could it be more that investors are reading too much into political theatrics rather than solid economic fundamentals?
Well, that's a fair point. I mean, it's like there's always a mix. Politics will amplify economic signals and vice versa. But in this case, the evidence of bond dumping is clear, and it directly ties into how far the dollar has slipped in credibility.
Right? True, though I can see the argument that sometimes political narratives might overshadow the fundamental market shifts. Still, it's hard to ignore the fire alarm when we see something as massive as this sell off.
Exactly. The chain reaction here might be reminiscent of past financial crises. It's like once a key pillar of stability crumbles, everything else is set off like dominoes.
For sure, and with the dollar in freefall, trust evaporates quickly among international investors, right?
Absolutely. And it's interesting to note that the distrust isn't just in the value of the US dollar, it's in the entire system that has kept it afloat for decades.
Yeah, definitely. Now, if we pivot a bit, let's consider this. What does China gain by dumping US bonds now, from their perspective?
Well, it's like they're recalibrating their portfolio. They see that holding too many US bonds is risky when the dollar's value is plummeting. So they're pivoting, reallocating their assets toward other currencies or commodities that might offer more stability.
That makes sense. It's almost as though they're saying, we need a shift, something more secure than the fading glow of a dollar that's losing its sheen.
Exactly. And it's a smart move in many respects, though risky. I mean, change is never free, and shifting assets on such a scale can lead to unexpected
Yeah.
turbulence.
And speaking of turbulence, the video hints at significant global economic shockwaves, right? How do you think this will impact not just the US, but international markets?
Oh, it'll be huge. You see, once the dollar loses trust, it's not just an isolated issue. It triggers a domino effect, reduced confidence in US markets, increased volatility in emerging markets, and even a reevaluation of trade policies globally.
It's like the whole global financial system is one gigantic interconnected web. Pull one thread, and suddenly the entire structure starts to unravel.
Precisely, and that's where things get really interesting, or rather, really scary. The analysis makes it clear that such moves could undermine the US's long-standing influence, especially in geopolitical spheres.
Right, definitely. I find it intriguing, though, how these economic maneuvers have political repercussions. For instance, Trump's reaction isn't just theatrical, it's a sign of genuine concern from political leaders about what a collapsing dollar might portend.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, um, there's a feedback loop here. Political panic can further destabilize investor sentiment, which in turn accelerates market shifts. Nothing happens in isolation in this game of global economics.
Yet, some critics might argue that attributing too much weight to a few high-profile maneuvers could be overblown. They might say, it's just market noise. But this isn't just noise, is it?
No, it isn't. I mean, the scale and speed of the bond dumping are unprecedented in recent times. It's as if China is loudly signaling an economic strategy shift rather than merely trimming its portfolio.
Yeah. And such signals are critical because, like investors and governments, look to these moves as harbingers of broader trends.
Exactly. It's like reading tea leaves, except the tea is boiling over. A collapse in the dollar can unravel trade agreements and safeguard policies that have been in place for decades.
I can see how this plays out dangerously. But don't you think there's a risk of exaggeration in some of these analyses? Sometimes complex economic moves get distilled into overly dramatic sound bites.
That's a valid point. The narrative of Trump panics might be as much about media framing as it is about the actual economic mechanics. However, the underlying fact remains the dollar's credibility is under serious strain, which is not something anyone can just brush off.
Yeah, right. So, while there's a risk of dramatization, the core issues themselves demand attention. With the US dollar's collapse, we're entering territory where every market and policy decision is going to have amplified consequences.
Absolutely. And it's like that old saying, when the throne starts to wobble, the court isn't far behind. The reverberations of a collapsing currency extend to everything from international trade to domestic policy decisions.
Exactly. And let's not forget the geopolitical angle. A weakened dollar combined with strategic moves by countries like China could, reshape alliances and rivalries on the global stage.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect across continents. Trade wars might escalate, diplomatic ties could be strained, and global economic policies might need a complete overhaul.
Right? Given all that, what should be the takeaway for, say, investors or policymakers reading this unfolding drama?
I'd say they need to brace for turbulence, diversify their portfolios, and be ready to adapt quickly. It's like if you're riding a wave of uncertainty, you need to hold on tight or risk wiping out completely.
Totally. And maybe policymakers should start considering reforming structures that have long been taken for granted, like the dollar's dominance.
Exactly. It's a wake-up call. The global economy is interconnected, and when one pillar shows signs of weakness, others might follow. So, strategic foresight and flexibility are key to navigating these choppy waters.
Yep, absolutely. It really makes you wonder what the next few months will hold, doesn't it? The blend of market maneuvers, political reactions, and global repercussions is like a high-stakes thriller.
For sure, it's an intense period. And while some may critique the sensationalism in some analyses, the facts, China dumping US bonds and the dollar's collapse, speak for themselves. It's a challenging time, and every move counts.
So here we are, at a crossroads where economic strategy, political turmoil, and global dynamics intersect. And it's vital for all players, investors, politicians, everyday citizens, to stay informed and adaptable.
Exactly. It's like the entire world is collectively learning to navigate a new frontier. And these discussions, they not only expose the risks, but also remind us of the complex interplay between finance and politics.
Right, yeah. Looking forward, it's going to be critical for decision makers to act with both caution and vision, recognizing the signals in these economic tremors.
Absolutely. It's an important reminder that in our global village, a shake in one corner can, resonate around the world. Watching these shifts unfold is both alarming and fascinating, and it tells us, without a doubt, that the era of relative economic predictability might be over.
And that, in a nutshell, is what we're grappling with today. The convergence of market maneuvers, economic vulnerabilities, and political drama, all unfolding at once.
Right, it's a lot to process, but keeping an eye on these developments can help us navigate the uncertainties ahead. Thanks for this deep dive and for challenging some points along the way.
Absolutely, it's been eye-opening. Indeed, thanks for the insights today. Let's hope the next moves in this high-stakes game steer us towards more stability.